Hand can kind of give an overview of investigations from over the weekend, and then I'll come back for any and all questions. So over the weekend, Chicago police officers recovered 113 guns. That's a 22% increase from 2020's comparative weekend, and year-to-date, gun recoveries are 6,629. That's a 26% increase from 2020 at this point in the year. Every gun recovery is a potential deadly force encounter, and every gun recovery is a potential saved life. Year-to-date gun arrests are 3,264. Notable arrests over the weekend, there was a charge of first-degree murder. The person charged was Taj Moore, that's T-A-J-H, Moore, 31. The circumstances are this: in the 2800 block of West Van Buren on July 17th, at approximately 1:46 a.m. in the 11th District, officers responded to a call of a person shot. Upon arrival, they located a 31-year-old male victim with a gunshot wound to the head. We'll wait for the phone to go on silent. The victim was taken to Mount Sinai Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The offender, 31-year-old Taj Moore, was at the scene and related to officers that he shot the victim following a physical altercation stemming from a domestic-related matter. Detectives investigating this incident located video evidence of the shooting and determined there was no physical altercation between Moore and the victim. Rather, video shows Moore walked up behind the victim and shot him in the back of the head, execution style. Moore was charged, as I mentioned, with first-degree felony murder. Secondly is we charge two individuals, one an adult, one a juvenile, with the murder of Frank Harris. With the murder of a 73-year-old male. We're not mentioning the name at this point. And the circumstances are this: on July 14th, in the 1200 block of East 53rd Street, two offenders approached a 73-year-old male, took the keys to his car, and struck him in the head. The Vietnam veteran did not survive the attack, and the offenders ran from the scene. Responding officers were supplied with descriptions of the offenders from the community, and two individuals matching that description were stopped by University of Chicago police. Chicago police took these people into custody, one 17-year-old male and one 18-year-old male. Both were charged with one felony count of first-degree murder. And just to change gears somewhat, notable community engagements. We don't get much penetration into the news cycle on our community engagements, which are plentiful. So I want to try to take the chance to get you all to report on our efforts engaging the community to build trust. The Office of Community Policing PALS program, that's Police Athletic League, in partnership with Chicago's finest baseball team, the 25th District and Chicago Park District, hosted a baseball clinic. The clinic took place at Black Hawk Park, located at 2318 North Lavergne in the 25th District. This clinic provided instruction on the fundamentals of baseball. All instruction was provided by sworn Chicago police officers, seeking opportunities to mentor young people to avenues away from delinquent activity. The clinic hosted over 25 young persons from areas in the district most susceptible to violence, and the age restrictions were waived. In addition, at this year's auto show at McCormick Place, we took the liberties to host a kiosk to recruit potential Chicago police officers. In the effort to illustrate that every officer in the community, we set up a table and encouraged people to stop by and put in an application to be a police officer. And finally, here right next door to where we are, here behind you, in our larger room where we normally hold our press conferences, we're hosting a chess tournament of young people. Myself being a chess player, I plan on watching and see who's got game, but with the hopes of engaging young people, mentoring, and building trust in the community. Finally, a notable partnership that we had with BACP in tandem with Chicago police officers, we shut down a beauty salon at 350 East 87th Street that was illegally operating. And we, again, do this in collaboration and part of our whole-of-government approach. This location was hosting large gatherings that often lead to violence. So this strategy is meant to mitigate the precursors to violence by engaging all departments in the city with efforts to tamp down on illegal buildings that's prompting some of the large gatherings that lead to violence. And with all that said, on a totally different subject, we are wanting to talk with you about our gun strategy. Today we are announcing we're rolling out, as of yesterday, a 50-member gun investigations team focused on gun trafficking, straw purchasers, unscrupulous licensed firearms dealers, and those who support the flow of illegal guns into our city. CPD officers across the city are already doing a heroic job at an historic pace, taking guns off the streets of Chicago. And as you know, we're at 6,600 guns recovered so far this year. That's a pace of recovering over 12,000 guns, would be an unprecedented high number in Chicago Police Department's history. This extremely dangerous work done by our officers day in and day out will not change. The mission of the new team, however, is to stop the guns from hitting the streets in the first place, stopping the flow. To cut off the pipeline of illegal firearms and blood money, the exchange of money for guns. The new gun investigation team will conduct mid-level and upper-level investigations into illegal gun sellers, straw purchasers, and others responsible for firearm trafficking in Chicago. The gun investigations team, which launched yesterday, as I mentioned, consists of CPD officers, the 50, ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, task force officers, so there are officers on task force that are part of this team, and the CPD Firearms Investigations team that currently exists but will be expanded. This team, this new team, gun investigations team, will also work locally with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office and with the United States Attorney's Office to secure charges against gun traffickers in Chicago. The CPD officers assigned to the gun investigations team, in addition to officers citywide, will receive training from the ATF. Some have already received some training that will equip them with the knowledge to help further gun trafficking investigations. We have been developing this team since early spring to help strengthen and expand our strategy to curb gun violence, which is devastating communities across this country as well as in Chicago. We're not trying to replace ATF. We are complementing what our federal partners do and look forward to working with the new ATF strike force to make Chicago and the country safer. The gun trafficking tip line is another layer of CPD strategy to demolish the pipeline of illegal guns flowing into our city. With the announcement by Mayor Lori Lightfoot of a $1 million fund to support tips about gun trafficking, the Organized Crime Division will staff a 24-hour tip line, which will give Chicago residents a voice to remove these tools of violence from the streets of Chicago. That tip line is cpdtip.com. I repeat, that tip line is cpdtip.com. The tip line will answer calls 24/7 and refer them to on-call sergeants from the gun investigations team for vetting and debriefing. Callers can expect a timely response from the gun investigations team at any hour of the day. If they wish to remain anonymous, CPD is working on a system to honor that while still allowing the tipsters to get their rewards, similar to Crime Stoppers. And with that said, I'm going to turn over to Elena Gottrich, E-L-E-N-A, Gottrich, G-O-T-T-R-E-I-C-H, a former Assistant Cook County State's Attorney, to go into greater detail on our gun investigations team. Elena?
Good morning. Can you hear me? Thank you, Superintendent Brown. When I started with the Chicago Police Department as the Deputy Director of Prosecutorial Strategies, guns were at the forefront of our conversations. As the superintendent stated, I was a Cook County Assistant State's Attorney for about 13 years, during which time I made my way through the Felony Trial Division. For the last 3 years, I was assigned to the Gun Crime Strategies Unit, which had me embedded in the 11th Chicago Police District, which we all know incorporates Garfield Park, Lawndale, etc. I was also cross-designated as an Assistant United States Attorney during that time. What that experience gave me was the viewpoint of both federal and state prosecutions, as well as what the boots on the ground were doing in the 11th District. Superintendent Brown expressed an interest in bridging the gap between the hard work that the officers were doing on the street and the cases going to court and being prosecuted. To this end, a lot of what we're doing is strengthening our investigations, looking at what works and what does not work, and looking to bring the most equitable outcomes to the community members suffering from this gun violence. The gun strategy was put into place noting that although Chicago police officers, as we all know, recover thousands of guns throughout the year, we lacked a mechanism to intercept the guns prior to them hitting the streets. That was something that Chicago Police Department to date has never had such a comprehensive focus on. So we created the Gun Investigation Team with the explicit mission to conduct mid-level and high-level investigations into the gun traffickers and the straw purchasers, the people that are actually providing these guns to the people that are then using them on the street to shoot and kill other people. This work will be done in connection with the ATF as well as the various divisions that Superintendent mentioned. The 50 officers will be tasked with running these investigations, which will incorporate undercover investigations and other methods. They will work closely with the task force officers who work to bridge the gap between state and federal, as well as the firearm investigation team, which is tasked with tracing every single illegal gun recovered in the city of Chicago, as well as following up on people who have revoked FOID cards and still have guns. This team will work together as a holistic unit with the effort to dismantle this illegal pipeline of guns so that, to be honest, we can stop having to recover so many on the street and intercept them before they get there. Another crucial component of this is training. The ATF is going to help out with training our gun investigation team officers in gun investigation techniques. Furthermore, there is going to be training for our patrol officers at the district level who will learn how to ask questions of someone arrested with a gun in a way that supports our investigations and strengthens our cases. In conversations with the Cook County State's Attorney's Office and the U.S. Attorney's Office, we clarified that many of these cases can be charged at both the state and federal level. The state has a gun running charge, which is a Class 1 felony offense at its minimum, and a Class X felony offense at its maximum. The federal government also has robust gun trafficking laws that address straw purchasing and transfer of firearms to people who then use them for crimes of violence. With that, I would turn it over for questions.
Let's do this. Let's finish out the program. We'll take all the questions at the end, so we don't have to keep going back and forth. Is that okay with everyone? So what I wanted to do now is bring up Chief Dinahan, Chief of Detectives, to just go over the weekend's investigations related to violence. Brendan?
All right, thanks, Soup. The superintendent already mentioned the one charge regarding the homicide, and what I think important to note on that one, once again, is we had an individual who's telling us one story, and then the video evidence supported something completely different, which is basically how we were able to secure that charge. And once again, it's just the hard work of the officers and the detectives out there. The videos, it's not easy to retrieve and download, et cetera. It doesn't happen overnight, so it was just a great job on their part. We did have one significant shooting that I wanted to go over, which kind of leads into what Ellen and the Soup were talking about with, with the guns out there and causing all this violence. So on the 17th of July at approximately 11:40 p.m. at 5006 West Ohio Street, we had a mass shooting where there were 6 victims, a lot of juveniles involved. I'll go over the ages real quick. 19-year-old, 15-year-old, 14-year-old, 12-year-old, 14-year-old, and another 19-year-old. So this was a gathering of basically a graduation party, a group that had got together previously to celebrate a graduation party. It was very successful, really good group of kids and individuals, and no issues. So they decided, since they had a successful gathering the first time, that why can't we do this again? Which they did, and then unfortunately there was a vehicle that drives by. So it was a drive-by shooting, 2 individuals shooting from the vehicle at this group. This no motive as to anybody in this group was involved in any sort of criminal activity. And as a matter of fact, I know we come up here and talk a lot about sometimes the detectives and the officers have a difficult time getting information from people when there's a lot of group-on-group violence. Everybody at this location could not have been more than cooperative with the police department, and unfortunately they shouldn't have been targeted. And so they gave us, the basic information on this vehicle, which we have not recovered yet. So it's an extremely tragic and unfortunate incident. The detectives are still investigating, but it kind of loops into what the Soup and Eleanor were stating, which is too many guns out there on the street. At that, Soup, I'll pass it back over to you.
And before you start with your questions on either that or what Ellen and I on the gun investigations team, I just want to highlight we're seeing more and more drive-by shootings than we've seen in the past here in Chicago and all across the country. Last time we had this drive-by shooting be part of the violence 1980s and 1990s. Early 80s when I came on the job was the drive-by, advent of drive-by shooting. We're starting to see that, not just with this one that we highlighted for this past weekend, but you see more and more every weekend, every day when we have particularly multiple shootings, either the drive-by shooting or someone drives up to a location, gets out of a car, shoots, and gets back in the car to flee, which is, again, the drive-by shooting, using a car to not only commit the violence, but to escape immediately to where it's really hard to identify who are the offenders. One of the strategies related to drive-by shootings when they did occur back in the 80s and 90s was a focused, data-driven traffic stop effort to create a difficult way for people to get in and out. So you always have, as the offender, thinking about, I might get stopped by the police with all these weapons in my car, about to do this drive-by shooting. So we haven't seen that as a strategy from offenders' perspective, but we're starting to see more and more of it here and across the country. And with that, we'll take questions. Let's do this if you can. Rather than jump around, let's do questions on the gun investigations team. And then when that's exhausted, then we'll do questions on any and everything else to include the drive-by shooting and other things that happened over the weekend. So just anyone, please. Jeremy. So the FIT team, the Firearms Investigations Team, is an existing team that will be expanded as part of this gun investigation team creation. That's their role, and in my opinion, they've been under-resourced, but they have done a pretty decent job in the area of FOID revocations. Is it perfect? No. Can we do more? Yes. So we'll be looking at it's creating the capacity to deal with the volume of not only FOID card, but other types of, like again, straw purchases, being able to debrief every gun offender that's arrested, to really focus on the high-risk gun offender that's arrested, the person who has felony background, violent background, that's arrested, again, with a gun, which is, obviously the one we want to focus on to prevent the next shooting. So again, all of the above. Can we do better? Yes. I believe the FIT team, with the resources they have had, has addressed some of the FOID card issues raised in that report.
Another question I have. Why has that been so challenging?
One of the things that we emphasized in our comments was the effort to collaborate with the public. Let me use this as an example of how a typical gun trafficking, gun running case happens. Criminal X, gang offender with the background, can't go buy a gun. Got a felony background. He can't go to the gun store and buy a gun. He gets his girlfriend to go buy it for him, who doesn't have a felony record, who doesn't have the history that would reject her from buying a gun. And he gets her to go buy guns every weekend for him until she's flagged by some diligent gun store owner. The challenge is the criminal has figured out how to buy small amounts of guns repetitively with third parties who defeat the background check, the things that are in place to prevent violent people from getting guns. They use a third party. Why we need the help from the public is we need to emphasize, number one, whoever these third parties are, we're coming for you to charge you. We're coming for you to charge you. And we're going to use this $1 million fund to create tips to out you. Someone knows who's being paid as a third party to purchase guns for a violent person in the city that would do a drive-by shooting on young people celebrating graduation. Someone in this community knows who that is. And we want to incentivize you coming forward anonymously, but we want to incentivize you to help the police department protect your community by giving these people up. It's completely different. Chicago PD never had an effort. That was more enforcement. That was more recovering more and more guns, which we're really good at. We're better than any police department in the country at recovering guns. We recover more guns every year in and year out, than LA PD and New York PD combined every year. That's last year, the year before that, and we will do it again this year. That's not the point. That's after the gun has already made it to our communities. The point of this investigations team, which is new and unique and a first in its class, is to get the gun before it hit the streets, at the trafficking level. Again, these third parties need to hear me loud and clear. We're coming for you. And we're going to try to charge you with the highest charge we can, if not in the federal system, at the state's attorney's office. Do not buy guns for violent people, is our message, or you will pay the price for them by doing what we hope to be serious time for your blood money. It's blood money. Whatever they're paying you to go buy these guns, the $500 or whatever, $1,000, it's blood money. And blood's on your hands, and we're coming for you. Any other questions? This will complement the strike force, and we'll let the ATF talk about the strike force, we hope sooner rather than later, but this is to complement the strike force. Chicago can't wait for the strike force. We have to do everything we can from a law enforcement perspective to take guns off the streets from violent people. Any other questions? So we specifically want the payouts to be around gun trafficking investigations. So if your tips leads to an arrest or an indictment or a conviction, there'll be several different layers of payouts that will be significant. We have yet to figure out all of the banking and third party, much like a Crime Stoppers, but we'll figure that out. But we want to take tips now from cpdtip.com. So right now, if you have a tip about a third party running guns, buying guns for gangsters and other violent people, we want people to call in now. Call in now, and we'll work out and announce the range of payouts for you. But they will be significant. The payouts will be significant. Yes?
Short of having all in tips about these
Number one, undercover work, human source development, which means working with the community to give us information real time, as well as, you know, we're gonna hit the ground running. So we're gonna need a lot of work from the community. We're gonna need a lot of luck. We're gonna have to run into the right circumstances, the right people at the right time that's delivering guns here, delivering guns and ammunition. You think about the average drive-by shooting, there's tens of rounds being shot. So who replenishes the ammunition for the guns being delivered? So it is going to be an aggressive policing effort with the community, not just through the tip line. We'll be on the ground in several different capacities. I mean, just think about the guns recovered over the weekend, over 100 guns recovered over the weekend. The ability to interview each and every one of those people in a gun investigation. Where did you buy the gun? Be able to trace the gun to see where it was bought, what gun store was it bought from, and to roll all that in with actionable intelligence from either a tip line or some person in the community that comes forward to say, I know this person buys guns for this gangster. That it's all going to have to work together. It's always better to be lucky than good, but we're going to be very good at this. We're going to be very good at this. Because this will save lives. If we are successful, I believe we will be, it will save untold lives getting these guns out of the hands of people in the first place. Instead of waiting till after they use the gun or after we make an arrest to recover the gun, we're on the front end of this to get the trafficker, the person making blood money from the grief and the suffering of people in this city after a shooting. Your cynicism is duly noted, and not without a history. Not without a history, I would say. So I really appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. But let me just answer by saying we are going to be relentless. I've been in policing over 35 years, almost all of my adult life, and I've seen criminals for the right price turn their mother in. I have. I think you had a question. the parents and people in the community overall, the parents and people in the community, our children are worth your giving these people up. That's not acceptable, that we have that many children shot by these guns trafficked to this city. Give these people up. Turn them in, whether for a payout fee with the $1 million fund, or give them up out of the goodness of your heart because you love our young people. Either way, we're coming for these people. We want to charge you with our trafficking laws, both state and federal, and hold you accountable for the blood money you get for harming our babies. Last question. So one of the things that is true is that retaliation is a significant challenge as it relates to people coming forward. And I think that's why it's important to continue to emphasize our ability to keep you anonymous, up to payout if that's the route you go, or keep you anonymous if you want to give us information. We should roll it out pretty quickly. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.